Hi, Laurel. Good morning.
Good morning, Adele. I'm so happy to be back with you. It's Monday, and we're doing our series this month. I'm so thrilled to be sharing time with you.
Same here.
So for those of us that are with us today, you're here with Adele Michael, who works with women to help them become more confident and grow prosperous. And I am Laurel Holland of Live Your Inner Power, and I work with women to become courageous and powerful. So Adele and I, the work that we love in the world is working with women and men, and I'm going to add men because I do have a couple men clients, and they do get upset when I kind of leave them out altogether. So I'm going to pop them right in there, women and men, and helping them, really develop an inner life that allows them to experience what they really want to experience in their outer life. And Adele and I are both big fans of energy work and doing the work of coming into yourself so that you really can trust yourself and live the life that you want to live. And, for us, we've been experiencing wonderful transformation in the last 5 years or so that we've known each other.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with coming into places where we really trust ourselves and trust, what's going on inside us, to know how to work with it and to direct things in the way that we want to direct them. So this month we started our series with talking about physical body and how to tune in and connect with your physical body and do some more embodiment work that we think is so important. And then we were here together last week. We talked about emotions and our ability to understand our emotions, come into proper relationship with them so that we can use them to help us guide us and fuel us to get what we want in the world and to experience what we want in the world.
Yeah.
This week, we're on the hot topic, and I know this is a hot topic for Adele, and I love this topic too, is mental energy and the power of our thoughts. So Adele, would you like to kick us off?
I would. When I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you all about today, it just occurred to me to say that I would say that I don't trust all of my thoughts, and I think that's a good thing. Scientists tell us that we have between 60 and 80,000 repetitive thoughts every day, and about 80% of them are negative. So that's 40 to 60% of our thoughts. 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And we're drip with, and they're not even ours in many cases. They're ones that we got from our folks. They didn't mean to be negative to us in many cases. We got from school, we got from church, we got from advertising. If we just think about how women are advertised to, we're supposed to look a certain way, and most of us don't. That's why they're called supermodels, because they do with a whole lot of help, right? With all the makeup and the lights and all that. So, trusting your thoughts, I think, is a good thing if they're actually your thoughts, but if they're not your thoughts and if they're not truth, then they're not very safe to trust, in my opinion. And I think as women, many of us are very right brain, so we're very intuitive and we're emotional. So the thoughts link up with the emotions and then just kind of create this cascade of, feelings of being less than, or I can't do it, or I shouldn't do it because it's not what people told me. So trusting your thoughts, I think, is something. It's almost like you have to clean out the closet before you can trust your thoughts. That's my thought.
That's beautiful. I love the way that you said that, Adele, because it's almost like if you think that if you just keep that closet analogy, what's in the front of the closet is all the stuff you've recently worn. All the stuff that has been, wear this, and not necessarily, what is really back in the closet is the truth, is your truth, your thoughts that come from, a more soul-driven, heart-based place. And when we're connecting with those true thoughts, our true thoughts, they resonate for us very, very deeply. And they connect us with our intuition. We usually get pretty, I don't know about you, but for me, it's either kind of calm or excited calm feelings. I don't get fear-based. Sometimes there's a little tinge of fear because if it's something new that I want to try, yeah, I get a little afraid, but it's that excitement kind of afraid, not the, oh no, afraid. It's the, oh, afraid, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so great. And my coach recently said to me, she said, you know, anything that makes you anxious, afraid, or doubt yourself is a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie because we are, and we'll talk more about this next week when we talk about spirit and energy, but we are eternal, infinite beings having a human experience. That's my belief. And that's how I try to live my life. And I sometimes have to, if I get kind of condensed and contracted and afraid, then I have to remind myself, oh no, I am an eternal, infinite being. What is the truth of this situation? And the truth is, I pretty much can figure stuff out and do stuff and grow and change and not be limited by those thoughts that tend to be very limiting for a lot of us.
Yeah. And what a beautiful way to, you know, even that in and of itself, what you described as a tool that we can offer for people to use, which is when you're in your truth and when you're in your infinite self and a real heart-based place, when you have thoughts that are aligning properly with you, they'll feel expansive.
Yes.
When they're not, or when they're keeping you from living your full life, they'll feel contracting. And you'll feel that literally in your body when you think a thought. So, you know, if you find that you're a really kinesthetic person, which I am, you know, a lot of times when I'm working with people, I get a lot of physical feeling. Tune in with your body. Check in with your body and how is it feeling? Is it feeling expansive or contracting? You know?
Yes. Yes. That's excellent. And I know we wanted to talk about becoming a witness to our mind drama.
Yeah, so that would be, you know, for me, that's kind of, if we're giving some ideas about practices. So the first practice might be, you know, checking in with that expansion contraction idea, and then witnessing your thoughts is the second one. And it's so important, isn't it, Adele?
It is, and we talked about it last week with witnessing our emotions, and that's why, and I know people just roll their eyes and say, I know I should whenever anybody mentions meditation, but that is the gift of meditation is you get to see your thoughts. And sometimes it's really not that pleasant to start out with because you might have a lot of junky thoughts. But if you don't, you know, classically meditate, but at least you give yourself a few minutes to wonder, you know, I wonder if that thought is true, or I wonder why I keep whipping myself around with these thoughts that I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or I'll never get it right, which so many of us do. It's almost like we've been given this incredibly impossible standard, very high standard, that no human being could live up to, but we try to, and in the effort to do that, we give away our power.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing it back and say, I am capable. I am worthy. And I want to do this. And so you've given two great practices. The third one that I would give would be affirmations. And affirmations, if you get it, are more they're more effective if you get into a slower brainwave state, the alpha brainwave state, if anybody knows about the brainwaves. And you do that very easily by just gazing up and taking a breath. So, and you can ask, show me the truth of this thought. Show me the truth of this thought. And you'll get an inspiration because you're in alignment with divine mind at that point. So.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I find, you know, for me, affirmations work the best when I notice too, if I'm buying into it, you know, like if there's an affirmation that feels too far away from my thinking and I'm just and I don't really believe it, or I feel like I'm rejecting it altogether. It's kind of like I try to find something somewhere in between where that affirmation is and where I am now to kind of move myself towards it.
Like a smaller step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not try to climb a skyscraper in a single bound.
Yeah. Also so that it will actually stay in my brain and start to work its way into my subconscious, so I don't just start it all together, right? Because the goal here is, when we're working with our thoughts, what we're really doing in a lot of ways is rebuilding our subconscious mind, right?
That's right.
There's a platform in there right now of the thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and conditions that have been presented to you so far in life that you've bought into at some level, and that's creating your thinking process and your life as you're living it today. And so, as we do this consciousness work, what we're really doing is making the effort of rebuilding that subconscious mind, pulling in what are our real thoughts, what are our real beliefs, what really is aligns with our truth that we feel inside here, and beginning to build that platform internally.
Right, and as we've said before, the body really wants to be in the truth. It wants to live its truth, and if we're not feeding it thoughts that help it do that, then it can start having some problems. So feeding yourself healthy thoughts through affirmations is a really great practice too, I think.
Beautiful practice. So I think the other one that's really big for me when I'm working with mental energy is the idea of, as you're observing your thoughts, noticing the stories, the repetitive stories and the repetitive thoughts that go through your mind. And really, over time, you can expand this to almost every thought that goes through your mind. But start with the repetitive ones and begin to just take inventory of them and begin to wonder for yourself, get curious, and wonder, how can you finish that story in a way that brings it to closure so that you're free to direct your mind the way you want to. If you have a default story that you're going to, an unfinished conversation, and a relationship that's bothering you, a history with family that you haven't made peace with, all of this is opportunity to kind of bring those stories to closure in a way that will allow you to live peacefully and powerfully and allow you to choose your thinking more powerfully going forward.
Yeah. So do you have an example that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I think, one of my most powerful stories that I had was when I was really doing a lot of mother work and really wanting to feel like I had my relationship with my mother in a place inside me that felt good and healthy and strong. What I did was I actually felt like I had kind of repetitive stories that were rolling around and I didn't want them anymore. I really wanted to release myself of them. And this is where energy work comes in too. Okay. So for me, rather than trying to create this brand new story and fight thoughts with thoughts, I actually did a little ceremony where I took all the plants in my house that were not looking good and healthy, and I brought them out into my yard, and I kind of dug a hole, and I said that, in my ceremony, basically said, I'm bringing all old stories of my mom to closure. I'm starting a new chapter in my life. I'm going to build a healthy relationship with my mother inside myself to the best of my ability, and think the thoughts that I want to think, take what I want, leave the rest here, and literally did that. And for me, that was a really powerful new beginning of really, truly letting myself connect with my mom, relate to her in the way that really felt powerful to me, and not be stuck in old stories.
Beautiful. So you could create a new story.
Exactly.
Based on the thoughts and the stories you wanted to tell.
Yeah, exactly. And when we're young, right, our story of mother is usually mother's in charge, mother's in power, and we're learning from mother all the time.
Yep.
When we're older, at some point, that story is not true. We're not a little girl anymore. We're not necessarily looking to mother to live, learn how to live our lives. We might be looking to other role models. So, the story has to come to closure, the one that's not working, and there has to be a new one that will work.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really beautiful. And I would just like to say that sometimes it takes some detective work to catch your thoughts, because they're our thoughts. They're the fishbowl we're swimming in. And that's the beauty of doing self-development work, either in a group or with a coach or an energy worker, because they'll have different thoughts and you go, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I could think like that. It's almost like, for me, it's almost like getting more input so I can see what's not the truth that I may be repetitively thinking.
Yeah, yeah. And even as we start to examine, what we're saying, that's one thing that's beautiful about working with somebody is they're receiving what we're saying, and they might actually be hearing it in more of a truth, with a truth bar to it, rather than us it's the same thing we've said again and again, and we're not really hearing it anymore, or we're not really in touch with whether that really resonates for us, right, as a truth.
Yeah, because it is the truth with the little t, because it's the truth we may be living, but it's not our big truth.
Yeah.
With capital T. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So I think, in terms of directing your thinking so that you can live the way that you really want to live, I think that's our last practice that we wanted to offer. And I know for me, it's come with, my willingness to look at what's happening in my mind right now. I really have to be willing to see what's happening today and look at it and make a decision about whether I want to stay on that storyline or that train of thought, or whether I want to redirect it to something else. And I think you have to be a witness to get there with that. Don't you think, Adele? I do.
I absolutely agree with you on that. And I think we get going so fast and we get twirling in our life that to have a moment, to stop and say, well, what's the truth here for me? What am I witnessing? As you say, let me take an inventory of my thoughts. It's very powerful. It's very powerful to create. And what we're talking about is creating the life you want. We're not saying to do this just, to clean up your mind. No, it's so that you have the outward experience of what you truly desire rather than what may be in play on default.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. If we wanted to use this as an image too, if you think about your subconscious mind, what's coming forth is coming into your beingness, right? And then the voice starts to express it. The mind thinks the thoughts, the voice expresses it. And so once it's expressed, it's more of a reality. And here you can work with it before it comes out into the world to be a reality. And that's a powerful piece, right?
Yeah, it is. And to add to that is our body hears everything we say, and it retains everything. So if you tell your body negative things, it's going to hear that. And it's like a hurt child. You hurt your body's feelings in a way. And if you're positive, like, I love my body, or I love my life, or I love the way I think, positive thoughts. I know those are all kind of simplistic, and they may be too big of a leap for you right now, but the power of your thoughts is also the power of your words and what you say to yourself. And please don't be mean to yourself.
I know. If there's one habit that we could encourage people to really first and foremost clean up, is that judgment, that self-judgment and self-criticism. That's, really one of the most self-limiting factors of our day-to-day life. Yeah.
Yes. And experience shows us that everything grows with love and attention. You don't shout at your plants and they grow. you love on your plants and they grow. You love on your animals, your children, and your spouse, and yourself. So, yeah, I think that's a great place to leave. It's combining all three things that we've already talked about: the body, the emotion, and now the thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think you had one suggested practice you wanted to leave us with.
And I think that, you opened here, Adele, and so this is really full circle, which is, if you resist meditation, or you don't like the idea of meditation, or you just feel like you can't meditate, then don't tell yourself you're going to meditate. Just tell yourself you're going to sit down, put a timer on for 3 minutes, and simply observe your thoughts. And if you want to take it to the next level, observe your thoughts and actually journal them. Put them down so you can see what they really are as you're experiencing them. And, that's a great way to begin, and we'll begin the transformation process immediately.
You are so right about that, because awareness is the first step. And if you're aware of those, the little gremlins thoughts, or the negative thoughts, or the monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, like kind of grab them and get them down so that you go, you're not my friend. You don't belong.
Yeah.
You're going to start that process. Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll be back next Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time to talk about self-trust, energy, and spirit.
Can't wait.
Yeah, good. All right.
Have a great week, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Laurel.
Thanks, Adele.